Hello boys and girls, welcome to my channel. I'm the Nvida GT, and for today what I do bring you here, it is Iron Fury. Before it was known as Iron Maiden, but the band from Iron Maiden decided that no way, we are going to process these guys and they are going to be called something else, and they decided to use the name Iron Fury. So this is an FPS game, and what else is so important about it? The importance about this game is that it is using the Duke Nukem 3D engine, known as Build Engine. Every FPS game from the 1990s uses the Build Engine, and I'm pretty sure that most of you guys don't even know what the hell it is Duke Nukem 3D, because probably you are 20 years old or something lower than that. But for people with 30 years old or 40, they will surely remember Duke Nukem 3D and all the FPSs using Build Engine, because it was very similar. And at the time, if there was a good FPS game, it was done in Build Engine. So Iron Fury, it is developed by Point, which contains people from Duke Nukem 3D that decided to make a game today with the Build Engine, the engine from the 1990s. And this is the graphical settings, alright? So native resolution, OpenGL, frame rate limit set to the maximum. You can choose classic, which is software, which sucks, alright? Just don't use it. And this is the requirements for the game, alright? So they ask for a random 64-bit processor, Intel graphic card obviously supported, but interestingly enough, the recommended requirements, they ask for a Ryzen or an i5. So you must be thinking, why the hell they are asking for this? I mean, this is a very old engine, right? Well, that's the issue, alright? Despite this is a very old engine with very old graphics, it doesn't mean that it's going to run like a dream. And that's the good example. With the maximum settings, I got an average of 74 frames per second and a 1% of 31. And this might be very hard to understand from you, but this is how it works. At the time, if you show them a game that looks like this with the Build Engine, people would freak out. Because despite this looks old, dated and ugly as hell, the thing is, it is so much better than it was possibly to accomplish at the 1990s, alright? Because they really made a lot of workarounds for this engine to work nowadays, with a lot of memory available, good textures. Yes, despite it looks like this, they really made a lot of workarounds for this to work. And the fact is, at the time, this engine wasn't capable of taking advantage of multi-core, of course, because all the CPUs were single-core, simple instruction sets. So, you know, despite how old this game is, and despite it would be logical for this game to run at 2000 frames per second, the fact is, the developers behind this game, the Point, really made a big effort for this to work in today's PCs with the Build Engine and look like this, because that's the thing, that's why it runs bad. Because the engine, it is not prepared to be displaying stuff like this. Despite it looks ugly to us, it is miles away for better than, for example, Duke Nukem 3D, and that is why this is demanding. And no, this is not demanding for the graphic card. The graphic card, it is fine. You can look at the MSI Afterburner. For example, the graphic card is hovering between 50 to 80%, so it is not graphics card fault, but it is the single core performance fault, and obviously the engine, why you don't get a perfect 60 frames per second or 2000 frames per second. Alright, it is exclusively the CPU and the fact that the engine, it is so old that it can't take advantage. But that was the decision from Point, and I understand that point of view. They wanted to create a classic FPS that looks like classic FPS, and they thought, okay, nothing better than use the old engine like the old days. But yeah, that I believe that was very challenging for them, because working in a very old engine, it is something that is not easy, because there was that's exactly not working like Unreal or Unity. Things are very difficult, and they decide to pull it off. And the fact is, the game it is releases, most of the gamers are really satisfied with this game. If you go to Steam, the scores for this game are insane, and even Digital Foundry decided to make a video about this game, about how technologically how this game it is pushing the boundaries of the build engine, and obviously that's why the game it is demanding, but how well the team accomplished this. So despite for most of the gamers, and I understand all the gamers that will say, okay, so it runs like shit, there are games that looks 1000 times better than this and run better. It is true, I fully understand those comments, but you got to understand what they did accomplish in here, using an engine that it wasn't supposed to be running in nowadays PCs. With they really pushed the boundaries of the engine. I think I repeated myself too much about this, but it is for you to understand. Just watch the Digital Foundry video, they explain everything much better than me and why this is a great thing. Although, yeah, despite that, if you are not really into classic FPS, probably you are not going to like this game. But regarding gameplay, this is exactly like Duke Nukem 3D or any classic FPS. There are a lot of secrets hidden on the maps. Most of them are just too much hidden. Just like the old days, it was very hard to get all the secrets. They are completely hidden behind invisible walls or stuff like that. It is really damn difficult. There are secrets everywhere. Most of the stuff, most of the puzzles that you get are related with cards. I mean, the cards with blue, red, and yellow are making a comeback to this game. Something that was really present at the time in games like Duke Nukem 3D and a ton of games. They really used the key cards as puzzles. You needed to find the cards to get access to the next room. This happens in this game all the time. And so, yeah, it's a trip to the past. If you miss games like Duke Nukem 3D and stuff like this, you are going to love Iron Fury. It really represents what it was before, and I think that if you care about this type of games, just support Voidpoint, buy the game. Talking about buying, the game costs 20 bucks. It is a good price, although maybe for most of the people it is too expensive, but 20 bucks it is fine for a release on this game. I'm pretty sure that I'm going to find this game on a Humble Bundle in the future, and I will gladly buy it, because this is games like this, like Duke Nukem 3D, or this type of games like Iron Fury. It was something that I played, or at least tried to play, when I was like 6 or 7 years old. And at the time I wasn't really smart, I was just a kid, and I couldn't play games like this because I wasn't able to have all that skill to finish a game like this. Now that I'm older, I feel confident to complete games like this, and if this game gets released in Humble Bundle or something like this, I should recommend you to try out, because it's very different than the FPS nowadays and will bring you to the past to understand how the games were made before. So guys, I think that's all. Hope you keep enjoying the rest of the video, and I do hope to see you soon. Goodbye.
Nothing there. Nothing there. Nothing there. Nothing that laying down another beating can't solve. I spray, you pray.
Sit down, little girl. This is your final warning.
What are you gonna do? Send me to my room? I never miss. We're done when I say we're done.